All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for this Alumni Night In with Visit Fort Collins. I understand that these are challenging times for many reasons, but we're very happy to have you join us tonight and hope that this fun and educational webinar gives you a nice break from your typical week. We're here to build RAM community and be a resource, and we hope that this webinar is one of the ways that we can do just that. I want to thank all of you for participating tonight and taking time out of your evening to be with us. We have about 40 people signed up to be with us this evening. We'd love to see in the chat where you're watching from and what year you graduated. Be sure to click send to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see that answer. Wherever you're tuning in from, we're so glad that you're here. Many of our attendees tonight are CSU Alumni Association members. Thank you so much for your membership as it makes events like this possible. As a reminder, since this is a webinar, you are automatically muted with your camera off. So please use the chat feature and the Q&A feature for any questions or comments during the presentation. In just a moment, I will add to the chat a helpful article and my contact information if you have any trouble with technology. Additionally, the CSU Alumni Association has many virtual events coming up, so please check out our website. We will be sending out a survey as well as the recording of this webinar and some additional resources, so be on the lookout for that email later this week. Lastly, by registering for this event, you were entered into a drawing to win some goodies from some of our local favorites. A recipient will be randomly selected immediately following tonight's event. I will personally be emailing that person, letting them know. That email will come through this evening, so keep an eye on your inbox. And now I am excited to introduce you to tonight's guest speaker, Katie Schneider, Director of Marketing with Visit Fort Collins.
Thank you so much, Dakota. I am so happy to be here for so many reasons. I love talking about Fort Collins, love CSU. So I see some of you are from different destinations and some of you are right here next door in Fort Collins. So that is fabulous to see. You can keep me honest as I go through this. So as Dakota said, you're with Visit Fort Collins tonight. I am the Director of Marketing here, and I'm a Colorado native. I went to CSU from 2001 to 2005, and I have to admit to all of you, and hopefully some of you can relate to this, that I didn't realize the depth of how awesome this community is until after college. So I definitely did my exploring and came downtown and hiked Horsetooth, of course, but it wasn't until after that I really recognized just how special this place is. So I hope that you are able to get that from our discussion tonight. And I can't reiterate enough, please ask questions as we go. I definitely get very passionate about Fort Collins and I can talk forever. So please just let me know if you have questions as we go. I have worked here at at Visit Fort Collins for 13 years in various roles. So needless to say, I love this community. I tell people all the time I have the best job because it's just such a fun place to talk about and to sell and to market. So I hope that also comes across as well tonight. Before we dive into kind of the nitty gritty, I definitely wanted to give all of you kind of a snapshot of Fort Collins as it is today. It probably has changed even if you haven't been here for a couple years or as long as 20 years. It's a growing community and one I think that has done it very smartly. So we are a city of about 175,000 people. That makes us the fourth largest destination in the state, which might come as some surprise to people because a lot of the draw of what Fort Collins is as a destination is its small town charm and, knowing the baker down the street, but also being able to meet a lot of different people along the way. So that's always a fun tidbit that I like to add in because it's not always that you understand how big of a city we are. Our median age is 29, which I mention because it's a little bit of a misnomer to me. I have lived here now almost 20 years and feel like it's such a great mix of demographics. I mean, you obviously have the student population, which is a young, vibrant, coming with all the new ideas and innovation. And then you've got a good mix, obviously, of young professionals. And we continue to top the lists of best places to retire as well. So when you're here, you definitely feel a good mix of ages and activity levels. I know when I'm biking around, I'm often passed by, the 89-year-old neighbor of mine who just, I think, makes it his goal to pass me every day on his bike. But then the 24-year-old too, who's much younger than me and much better lungs. So a really good mix of people here in Fort Collins, and makes it a fun place to visit and to live. And one of the biggest reasons I think people like to live here, and then we'll move into visiting, obviously, if you enjoy a place to live, it makes for a good place to visit, but the city itself makes it pretty easy. They manage over 900 acres of parks, 36,000 acres of natural areas. All of the off-street bike lanes and trails that we have grown to love is all, they're all reasons that it's a fun place to live and visit. So those are all things that we'll be talking about, but makes a big difference when you're choosing some place to either, whether you have somebody that is looking to go to CSU. I hope we all have our young alums, but also just to live and thrive and play as well. Okay, now getting into the kind of fun stuff. I like to start this conversation a little bit about why people like to visit Fort Collins. We do have some people who still are like, is Fort Collins a tourism destination? And the answer is a resounding yes, yes, yes. The Colorado Tourism Office does research every year on who's coming and why they're coming, and Fort Collins was the number 5 most popular places to visit in 2018. So that's big when you're competing against the Aspens and the Denvers and the Colorado Springs of the world. So that's something that we're very proud of. And one of the major reasons that people come here, the number one reason people come here, is to visit friends and family. So when I ask people to guess why people come, there's some, they sometimes talk about Horseshoe Reservoir or Poudre Canyon, which we'll talk about as well, but it really is the sense of pride that people who live here have, and it's an ideal place to invite people to come and visit. So because of the effects that COVID has had, we really are relying really heavily, and the community is rallying around inviting their friends and family to come and visit them to help kind of kickstart our economy. And so we're educating people day in and day out about how to do it safely, and to make sure that our community stays open for forever and ever and ever. So friends and family is hugely important to us. And then followed closely is outdoor recreation. And you've all lived here, been here, know that what's unique about Fort Collins is our juxtaposition to the wonderful Rocky Mountains and then the Great Plains to the east. We see people who are fascinated by both the mountains and the plains. And so we're an ideal destination for people to come who are looking for that, both experiences. Horsetooth Reservoir tops the list of places that people head to once they get here for obvious reasons. It's 10 minutes from downtown to get there, and it's so popular with our stand-up paddle boarders and all of the water activities, boating, fishing, and then you've got your climbing and your hiking and your biking. And biking really has been a major activity that people are doing when they're here. Mountain biking, I think when I was going to school, was not as big of a deal, but now people come from all over the place to Fort Collins to experience Laurie State Park and Horsetooth Mountain open space, and yet it's a very approachable place to start mountain biking as well, because there are single track trails along the Poudre River just right here in town that people can take their lunch break and go and experience some of those single track areas. So mountain biking is something that we talk about quite a lot, and pair that with our commuter and road cycling community, and you have yourself a real bike destination. We have over 250 miles of bike lanes and trails, so it's very easy to either rent a bike or bring your own and then go experience the entire destination for as long as you'd like to, because you can go for miles and miles and miles on a paved trail. And it's a good way to get into nature, escape. I think we're all looking for those activities that get us a little bit away from the craziness. And so biking here is certainly a big deal. And people have taken notice because we're one of only 5 destinations in the country that's platinum level, which is the highest level you can get for bike friendliness from the American Bicycling Association. So that's something that we also are very proud of, because you can't get better than that necessarily. And we know that visitors are coming here, and if they want to hop on a bike, they need to feel safe. And that is certainly something that happens here in Fort Collins. And I mentioned the Poudre River. I think we all probably have a special place in our heart, whether it's in the canyon, on the river, or right here in town, whether you have been tubing or rafting or just hiking one of the trails that is an offshoot of the Poudre Canyon or the Poudre River. It's a really amazing, special thing because it's the only wild and scenic river in the state, and one of very few west of the Mississippi. So that means it's like a national park designation for a river. So they limit the number of commercial rafters that are able to get permitting to go down the river. So in the summer, obviously it's a seasonal activity, but we have class 2 to 4 rapids. So whether you're a beginner and you have a family, I've done that with my family and felt very safe. And I've also been able to get a little bit more adventurous and do those class 4 rapids. But because there's not very many commercial rafters that can use the river, it's such an amazing experience. It's the quintessential Colorado thing to do. So that's one of those things that was on the list that after college, I was like, well, where has this been? I had seen rafters going down the Poudre River, but had never done it myself. So if you haven't done it, definitely put it on your list for when you come and visit. It's just a really special place. And you can't talk about the Poudre River without talking about the Mishawaka. The amphitheater that's located on the banks of the river is now over 100 years old. They celebrated their 100th birthday a couple of years ago, so it's still going strong. They have been able to morph a little bit and still provide some live music experiences for people. So we'll talk about all of those fun places where you can get entertainment here in a little while. But the Mish is just such a special place, one of the most unique music venues in the country. I love telling people about it. And inevitably they say, well, wait, it's on the banks of a river? How does that work? So having photos of that is always fun, but definitely, again, put that on your list to go check that out when you're here. And then the Poudre River, as it runs through the city, has also undergone quite a change. Just in the fall, the new Poudre River Whitewater Park opened, and it's like a haven for kayakers and tubers and people who just want to wade in the water. It's been, for those of you who are here in Fort Collins, and I think I saw Arizona and New Mexico, you know that we have had quite the hot summer. So the Whitewater Park has been a really popular place for people to go and safely experience the water and just kind of work on any skills that they want to perfect as far as kayaking. And there's duckies down there. So it's been a very good amenity to be added to that area. And the area itself that it's in is right off of College Avenue and Vine, if you can picture that area. It has really helped a resurgence in that area. And now the River District is what that neighborhood is called, and it's home to Ginger and Baker, which is a great restaurant, Mob Distillery, Wolverine Press, which is a working print press, and also a beer bar and a coffee shop, and a really cool experience to have there, as well as New Belgium being just a stone throw away from the River District. That's obviously still a very popular place to go, and they have patio dining available, or patio experiences available, and also takeout. So it's a popular place on Friday and Saturday for sure. And then the other location that's there that will help you probably picture where it is El Burrito, which just has such a history here, over 75. I think they might be approaching 80 years now. So that is still going strong for sure. So put that on your list as well. And then as far as other outdoor recreation experiences, I mentioned our natural areas and how special they are. And the reason that they attract such amazing visitation is because they exist because of a tax that the citizens put on ourselves to to preserve and conserve the natural spaces within Fort Collins. There are over 50 natural areas right now and more in the works. They're really very different than parks, different than just an open field of grass. They all have really unique flora and fauna components to them, and they are extra special. We definitely have a lot of people who come to Colorado and think they're high adventure, and then they get here and they're like, oh, I think actually I'm soft adventure, which we're perfect for, because with 50 natural areas within the destination, you can imagine there's certainly one close to you, and you can bike and hike and explore, and it's a really amazing experience. One that is extra unique that I'd like to mention that has a special relationship with CSU as well is Soapstone Prairie Natural Area. And that is almost to the border of Wyoming. And it's special for many reasons, but 3 of which are that they 5 years ago introduced the only purely genetic bison outside of Yellowstone. So it's a really incredible place to go and see, you know, science and nature at work, basically. They've also reintroduced the black-footed ferret, which has been an endangered species. And there are a lot of scientists around the country who are paying close attention to what is happening at Soapstone Prairie. And if you're a birder by chance, it's an excellent place to go. There are rare birds up there that you can only find really in these high desert, arid places around the country. So it's near and dear to my heart, and it's home to the Lindenmeyer Archaeological Site, which is a place in the 30s that the Smithsonian found evidence of one of the earliest human existence. They found an arrowhead that was lodged in a bison antiquus bone, which dated human existence here almost 12,000 years. So at the time was a pretty unique, amazing find. And there's great interpretive signage up there, so you can learn more about what is happening in, you know, the archaeological world as well, which is really fun to have all of those things in one spot. And then I can't talk about outdoor experiences without the CSU annual trial garden. I know it's a little bit different than hiking and biking and all of the, you know, adventurous things that we do, but the CSU trial garden continues to be a really popular spot for people to go. And if you haven't been back to campus or to Fort Collins in a few years, it's worth a stop in the summer months. Right now, it's probably one of the most photographed places in the city because it's bursting with over 1,000 different new varieties of flowers that the CSU students are experimenting with. It's a fun interactive component too, because the community and visitors get to vote on their favorite type of flower. So I know that we'll be sending links of photos and fun things to experience. So we'll definitely be sure to put some photos in there because it's pretty spectacular. And it's located in front of what was the Fort Collins High School and now is the University Center for the Arts. So the whole atmosphere is just really, I don't know, there's something about it that always is kind of nostalgic for me. I don't know. So very, very high on the list of places to go if you visit in the summer. And then along those lines, the Gardens on Spring Creek is a botanic garden that's located here, and it's been in existence for over 15 years, but they just recently in April opened a brand new expansion that just changes the entire area. And so it's 12 acres of flora and fauna, and over 300 North American butterflies are in a brand new butterfly house. So the gardens have partnered with the Butterfly Pavilion, which is another area in Westminster. Actually, I think I may have seen somebody from Westminster. They partnered with them to host a second butterfly house. So it's the first partnership of that kind that is existing, and well worth it to stop in there, see the butterflies. Right now, if you're interested in visiting, they are doing timed entry. So you sign up online and show up, and it's really a very cool experience. And again, then you can walk around the gardens and take in all of the fun native plants and varieties that are there. And they also, we love our outdoor music here in Fort Collins. So with the whole renovation, they opened what they are calling the Great Lawn, which is this beautiful, large outdoor amphitheater. And it was so painful that it was empty and having to sit there with no patrons. And so they figured out a way. It's one of the only venues in the city that was able to figure out a way to safely host concerts. So it makes my heart so happy to drive by and hear live music coming from the amphitheater and see people enjoying something that we, I think before, probably took for granted a little bit. Before I move on, does anybody have questions about things to do, or did I miss, if I missed a statistic earlier that you're curious about, just throw it in the chat and we can revisit that later. So moving a little bit, although the gardens and the annual trial garden specifically are a little bit of arts and culture in the destination, we'll move into that realm a little bit here. And the downtown area, if you can remember, is really the heart and soul of the destination. Over the last 10 years or so, I would say there's been some pretty significant improvements that have taken place that make it the center of what is going on in Fort Collins. So it is now a designated creative district, which means that's a state designation that's given to places with a high concentration of creative businesses, lots of events going on, and a lot of support for public art. So there's no shortage of public art. All of you Fort Collins residents can attest that you really can't drive many places in the city without seeing public art, and especially in the downtown corridor. The Downtown Creative District has recently helped commission local artists to paint concrete barriers on the extended patio areas, because those have been so critical for our businesses to stay open and to engage with their patrons. And so our creative district and Fort Collins, this is so Fort Collins, they weren't happy with just having concrete traffic barriers out. They commissioned and paid artists to make them beautiful and inviting, and it makes a difference downtown when you're walking around and you feel drawn into those patio areas, which is definitely the point. Another program of the Fort Collins Creative District, and they have partnered with the Fort Collins Mural Project. And the Fort Collins Mural Project's tagline is "Every wall deserves art." And I've talked already about how much public art we have, but there are a lot of private businesses that have brick walls or blank walls that were just screaming to have a mural painted. So that's been a project over the last 2 years that have actually hosted a mural festival. And this year they'll be going virtual. So you all, no matter where you are welcome to attend. And it's artist in action. So you can watch someone painting a mural, which how often do you get to have that experience? And then you also get to see the finished product. So there will be a map that will take you to each mural, or you can watch them virtually painting. So keep an eye out for that. They haven't announced their official dates yet, but that will be something you'll want to tune in for. And then I mentioned the renovations that have happened. Old Town Square, which has always been a gathering spot, as long as I've lived here, in 2015 went under a major renovation, and they now have a beautiful stage, a splash park. It really is such a vibrant place to come and hang out and play. There's a lot of outdoor seating, so now people are getting their meals to go and then social distancing to have those meals outside, and it's worked perfectly to keep that sense of community and be safe and also support businesses. So it definitely has. We've changed it a little bit from sense of place to sense of space, but they are intertwined because we're all craving, I think, that community and not at the same time want to be safe. So they've perfected that and have allowed that to keep going through COVID and beyond. And there is a little tidbit, I'm sure that you're all familiar, that downtown was the inspiration for Disneyland's Main Street USA. There was an illustrator who ended up working for Disney, who lived here, and Disney saw an illustration that he had of downtown Fort Collins and said, "Oh, I got to have this. This is what I want Main Street to look like in Anaheim." And so you'll recognize a couple of buildings. And again, I'll put some photos in the link that we send out just to say, once you see it, you'll definitely recognize that it's a real thing. And the alleyways are not something that is really exciting to talk about, except that the Downtown Development Authority here has invested a lot of time and money into beautifying our alleys. And I mention it because we get a lot of feedback from people who just can't believe how beautiful they are. There's art, there's flowers, there's actually a program called Pianos About Town where artists paint the pianos that are donated, and they're placed in random places throughout the community, and they oftentimes end up in an alley where the acoustics are just amazing. And so you get a little stroll, you feel like you're in the most amazing kind of fantasy land when you have somebody who really knows how to play the piano and you're walking in these beautiful alleyways. So one of them actually was the first installment of an interactive alley mural. So when you walk by at night, a light finds you, a spotlight finds you, and then it activates your body movements. And it's just really, it's a really fun place to go, and with families or otherwise, just to see something that's kind of exciting and different and innovative in Fort Collins alleyway. And then we have the Fort Collins Museum of Discovery, which opened in 2012, but they're continuing to evolve and change, and especially now, as you can imagine, but that is a very special place. They definitely go above and beyond with their traveling exhibits to really appeal to the local audience through a global lens. So it's something that is always fun when you see a traveling exhibit. They've had everything from something focused on mental health, which will be coming in the fall, to a gaming exhibit that was here this spring, and they've had a dinosaur exhibit. So there's always something to see in the traveling area of the museum. But what's really fun about it is that it still is, they've managed to really up their game and get creative about how to continue to make it a hands-on museum. There's a fantastic music exhibit there that's a permanent exhibit, and kiddos and adults alike can go and play just about any instrument that you can think of. And again, they are taking all the safety protocol seriously and making sure that people can experience it time and time again. So that's something certainly to check out on your list. And then let's see here, live music. I just think that we're all missing that live music, and it's just not the same when it is virtual. So leave it to Fort Collins to figure it out. I mean, summers here, we're very spoiled. We have live outdoor free music 6 out of 7 days in the summer. So this summer we were not gonna let that go by the wayside. And there are several venues in the city that are still not having live music, but they've morphed a little bit. So one of them has figured out how to make the drive-in a music venue. And so our beloved drive-in, the Holiday Twin, is doing better than ever. They're hosting live shows every Tuesday and partnering with local musicians and local organizations to benefit them and to make sure that people can still safely come and hear live music. And again, have that sense of community that I think we're all kind of looking for at this point. I mentioned the Mishawaka. They're having Sunday concert series where you can go and hang out for an hour and a half. You reserve your spot online, and then they make sure that you're well distanced, and you can have that really amazing experience that we all expect out of the Mishawaka. So that will continue all the way through September. So our website has more details on that if you're curious about any of these experiences. And then something that has probably opened since many of you have been here is the Music District. And the Music District is a brainchild kind of the Bohemian Foundation, which is a very generous foundation here, located here, that really is focused on music and education. And the Music District has state-of-the-art recording space. They have an artist in residence program, and the public can also participate in a lot of their programs and learn anything you can think of about music. And even if you're not part of a band or can sing, like I cannot. So they're offering a lot of different programming right now to keep people engaged and interested in music, which we certainly appreciate. And then for those of you out of town who are coming to visit very soon, the Elizabeth Hotel opened in 2017, and they are right around the corner from me. I'm in the Downtown Visitor Center here on Mountain Avenue, and the Elizabeth Hotel has a lending library, where you can go and rent any instrument that you can probably think of, take it up to your room and play it, or sit right there in the lobby and play it. So that was one of the only ones in the country when they opened to exist. So that's been a really fun thing to promote and say, only in Fort Collins can you go get a banjo in your hotel and take it up to your room and play. And they also have record players in every room. And so you can go and get your vinyl of your choice and go and have fun with that as well. So something unique to put on your list of places to stay when you're here. And then some of you also may remember the Armstrong Hotel, which is a historic hotel in downtown. They just went under a big renovation, did an amazing job keeping that historic character and yet modernizing a lot of the amenities and the facilities. So they have also started doing live music down in Ace Gillette's, which is their speakeasy type restaurant, and have just opened a new cafe dining experience as well. So they have expanded their patio into near College Avenue, and that's something that is brand new, and they have an amazing brunch. So those two spots downtown, if you're looking to come and visit, are two of our favorites for sure. I mentioned the Holiday Twin Drive-In, and that is something that I do think that maybe we probably took for granted before all of this, because it's become such a, I hate to say gathering place, because I know that's not what we're supposed to be doing, but it is a good place to go safely and experience a little bit of that normalcy with the movies and the live music that they have going. So still so much to do in terms of entertainment here. There's no shortage ever of places to go and things to do. So I'm going to move on again. So if anybody has questions about entertainment, arts and culture, definitely ask questions. I'm happy. Oh, I know one thing I wanted to tell you, because a lot of you probably remember Washington's, also known as Wash Bar at some point in the history. They have also reopened as a beautiful, beautiful music venue. They don't have shows right now, but they've done a lot of good work on the building to keep it historic. And if you walk by, you'll see an amazing Tiffany stained glass window that was hidden behind the bar when it was Wash Bar, that they have refurbished, and it's now front and center. So even if you walk by, it'll definitely be one of those things that you'll think, I don't even remember what this looked like, because it's such a beautifully well done building now, and a little bit different than its former life. Which is probably a good segue, because Fort Collins as a destination is attracting a lot of people from around the country because of our liquid arts scene. And if we had done this probably 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said because of our beer scene, but that evolved so quickly into all kinds of other liquid arts that that's now how we're talking about it. Don't worry, we're still a beer mecca. Even before the sale of New Belgium late last year, Fort Collins produced more than 70% of Colorado's craft beer. So pair that number now, even though it's been probably reduced a little bit, you pair that with Anheuser-Busch, and we're certainly making a lot more beer than any other destination in the country. So we're still a beer destination, don't worry. Right now we have 22 breweries, and for perspective, a local favorite, Horse and Dragon Brewing, just celebrated their 6th anniversary, and they were the 12th brewery to open just 6 years ago. So you can see how that growth really happened over the last several years. And when you ask people, brewers in particular, why they're successful here, a lot of them will say, well, because of the good mountain water that comes down the Poudre River. But closely following that is the fact that everyone here is so collaborative and feel like they have a family here in the brewing scene, and they all help each other succeed. They want to have a good reputation, and so everyone really plays a role in that. So now we have morphed into this amazing liquid arts destination, and we have 6, soon to be 7 distilleries. We have a number of third wave coffee roasters and shops, a number of kombucha makers, and one of the best cideries in the state, hands down. A fun fact about the cidery, they have a brand called branch out cider, and community members can register their apple trees because who knows what to do with all these apples. So you can register your apple tree, they'll come get your apples from you and then make cider or apple juice out of it. And then rumor has it that you get a little share of that at the end, but they're really trying to make a new name for all of the fruit that goes to waste. So that's a really fun fact. I think it is always worth sharing. And then you can't be a destination now without a whole lot of craft things. And Fort Collins, I believe wholeheartedly, was really on the forefront of that movement. We as a community just really feel very protective, I think, and also proud of the ingenuity that happens here, the innovation, and the people who are taking their craft really seriously. So we are now home to the world's largest bean-to-bar coffee maker, and that's Nuance Chocolates. And you can still go in today and hear the whole, he calls it show and smell, because the owner, Toby, will take you through the whole process of how the cacao bean starts and then is finished in his bean-to-bar factory, if you will. And factory is probably an overstatement because it's he and his wife that work in a little shop, and then they hand wrap all of the chocolates. And I've been told by some chocolate aficionados that it's certainly some of the best chocolate that they've ever had. So you can get it online, but it's worth a stop in the shop when you're here in Fort Collins. And then the Colorado Shoe School just opened in 2018, and it's a place where you can go make your own shoes. They have day-long workshops all the way up into 5-day workshops, and you are in the whole process. You design your shoe. They are very cool because they're upcycling a lot of their product. They don't want leather to go to waste. They have this bag of ribbons that you can use for your laces, and it's just a really fascinating product that you get at the end. And it's something you're really proud of, because how many of us can say that we have made our own shoes? So that's something that is an only in Fort Collins thing that you can participate in. And then Foco Doco is the Fort Collins donut company. They're located in the Exchange, and their donuts are made by a robot. And you can look in the peer in the window and watch the robot make your donuts, and they are just so fantastic. You have to order 2 at a time, and it's well worth it. They're some of the best donuts that I've ever had, and it's the whole experience too when you're there that makes it so fun. And then an oldie but a goodie, Odell Brewing, has just started producing their own wine, and this fall they'll start making their own kombucha. So we have seen some of these long-standing businesses who are really trying to diversify and stay relevant in these times. And Odell is just obviously a local and a national favorite. And so they're doing a great job making sure that they are keeping up with the times.
Katie,
Speaking of
we have a quick question. If you could talk a little bit more about what the Exchange is.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So the Exchange is located just north of Old Town. It's still considered Old Town, but probably in an area that you would have passed by before and not maybe given much look to. And it is all shipping containers. So there's a couple of restaurants. There's Churn, which is Little Man Ice Cream. They have built this outbuilding that looks like an ice cream churn, so that's just a fun experience to have. You've got Foco Doco, there's Old Town Putt that's located there, and it's a common consumption area. So it's very popular this time of year because you can go and get your drink or your food and then come into the common area and safely distance away from and have a great experience outdoors. So that is the Exchange. Thank you for asking. Let's see, anything else? Did I see a couple more pop up there? I'll keep moving and you can stop me if you have. Speaking of the old is new again, I mentioned before Ginger and Baker in the River District, and it is the old grain mill that they have completely refurbished into a fine dining cafe and event space, and it's just fabulous. It's one of those, again, that they've done a really good job of maintaining the the integrity and the character of the building, and at the same time really appealing to people who are coming looking for a fine dining experience as well as maybe more of a cafe experience. But highly recommend that to visit. And then Jessup Farms is another place in town that was an old homestead, and the developer decided that instead of scraping it and starting from scratch, that they were going to make the buildings into a restaurant, some shops, a brewery. The old barn is a barrel aged brewery. So it's again a destination in and of itself where you can go and have dinner and walk around, and they have a new ice cream shop. So like the Exchange, it's kind of a one-stop shop where you can go and get basically anything you might be looking for. So highly recommend that. Check that out. And then lastly, there's so many only in Fort Collins experiences. I would love to hear what you all remember from, the Pickle Barrel to Bassetti's, which is no longer, they retired and decided to be done with the restaurant industry. But so there are just some long-standing places here. But Walrus is still going strong. Coopersmith's, obviously, I think will hopefully be around forever. They have such a great name here and around the state for good beer. But one place that maybe you don't know about quite yet is the Otter Shop, OtterBox, which produces protective cases for phones and devices, is headquartered here. And they have the only retail shop in the whole world located right here in Fort Collins. So you can go in and peruse the shop and real in person talk to somebody who really knows the history of the company. And it's just a really fantastic experience. So there are a ton of only in FOCO things. And actually we have a blog going live later this week that lists out about 30 of them to check out when you're here visiting. So with that, I so appreciate you all being here and letting me just go on and on about Fort Collins. I could go on some more, but I would love to hear questions, comments. If you have any thoughts, would love to hear that as well.
Thank you so much, Katie. We'll give it a moment, see if any more questions or other comments come in. I don't see any quite yet, but while we're waiting, I just want to thank you so much. We love that you took the time to just gush about how wonderful Fort Collins is and talk about some of your favorites, and hopefully people who haven't been back here in a little bit come back and see us and visit soon. Okay, we
Absolutely.
have a couple. What restaurant long ago had stairs going down to the restaurant downtown in the 80s?
Long ago, that's a great question. There are some now. I mentioned Ace Gillette's that has been a long-standing speakeasy type experience. There's Social that has been here for a number of years, where you go down and it's located in the basement of the building that I'm in, actually. So that might be a stop after this. And then Sonny Lubick Steakhouse, if you were here in the early 2000s or late 90s, you know Sonny Lubick is just such a mainstay of this community, and he has his own steakhouse here downtown. But I don't know if those are the ones that come to mind. Do you think I named one of them? I'm trying to think if I'm missing one.
She said she thinks it was Italian.
Italian. Oh gosh, yes. So Sonny Lubick Steakhouse is in the same building. It started with a C. This is a fun game.
She typed it in the chat, but I don't know how to pronounce it, and I don't know if I want to try.
Well, let me see if I can take a look here. And Catacombs. Thank you. Oh my gosh, Eileen, you got it. Absolutely. Yes. Oh gosh. Yeah. So Sonny Lubick Steakhouse is now in that same location.
Love that. And then any other recommendations for a staycation, like a bed and breakfast, or anything that you recommend for a staycation?
Yes, so we have had a couple of locations open in the last several years that are more that bed and breakfast. Edward's House has been here for many years. They are still in operation and going strong. And then we've had a couple of hostels that have opened that have transformed themselves into a private stay. And so one is the Fernway Hostel and the Solarium. And I can make a note and make sure that we put that in all the follow-up. My other personal favorite, is the Remington Flats. It's owned by a couple, and it's only a few units, and they just offer such a personalized experience. You get a little Fort Collins basket when you get there. The cruisers are available for you to use, so I would certainly recommend staying there. And then if you have any, if I mentioned anything that piques your interest today, I would definitely be happy to give more information. I know, thank you. It is adorable. I will do a little bit of show and tell. So this is our visitor guide that we produce every year. And if you go to our website, we will mail you a copy, or there's a digital version online, and it has a ton of good information. And, sometimes it's nice to have something in hand or something that has an end, so you're not just searching through our website. So that I would highly recommend ordering one of it. And it doesn't matter if you live here or not, or you can come and visit me in the visitor center. We're open here Tuesday through Saturday, so you can come and grab one too.
All right, that's everything we had, so we'll give it one more second. Thank you so much again. We really appreciate it. Everyone who's here, thank you so much for coming. We will include a lot of this information that Katie talked about and resources in the post-event email that you'll get in just a few days. And then if you have any specific questions or anything that comes up that you want to know about that you didn't think of tonight, just let me know. You can respond to that email that you get. You can reach out in any way, and we'll be happy to answer that for you, provide any other information. So wonderful. I think that's it. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming. We hope to see you in Fort Collins soon. If you haven't been back, we would love to have you come visit. Thanks so much, and have a great rest of your evening.